is Girls Stop Playing, a weekly show that empowers Black women to stop playing with their potential so they can live a life that they love. I'm Koereyelle, your favorite homegirl, and I'm on a mission to help Black women make the money and get the honey. You can have it all as long as you're willing to work. Welcome back to another episode of the Girls Stop Playing podcast. It's your favorite homegirl, Koereyelle, here to encourage you to stop playing with your potential and start working for what you want in life and in love. You already know that I'm bringing you the information and the conversations to help you make the money and get the honey. You can have it all as long as you are willing to work. And today we got a working woman in the building. Lauren Williams is in the studio.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
I'm so happy to be here.
Listen, we're like friends in our heads.
We are.
Through Instagram.
Yep.
I don't even know. Well, I mean, I know where I obviously know you from, but I don't know how we got connected on social media.
I probably followed you. I love following women with empowering, like women's empowerment is my thing. So if you said something on something, a spiritual word posted or something, I probably immediately followed you.
They used to say like
I'm
the
a fan.
6 degrees of separation, you know, like how close we were, but between Instagram and Atlanta,
It's like a
it
point
is
one.
just, yeah, it's like somebody knows somebody who knows somebody. So either way, however it went, thank you for
Yes.
being here. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Introduce yourself to the people outside of people maybe spotting you on reality TV.
Ooh.
Who is Lauren Williams?
Who is Lauren? Oh, that's so deep. I need my therapist here. Oh, that's a loaded question. No, but yeah, I mean, I'm Lauren. I grew up in Atlanta. I've been here my entire life. I never left, never moved away. I went to Woodward, I went to Spelman, and then my sister started reality TV. And I joined her, and I knew obviously I had to use that Woodward and Spelman education to do something really big. So I was like, hey, can I run your businesses instead of being your assistant? She was like, sure. So I started running all of her businesses, and it was great until I realized that I wanted to open my own businesses, and I had my own message and my own narrative that I wanted to push. And I was like, you know what? Maybe Real Housewives isn't the platform for that. And let me find my people. I started to just realize that I was a little bit different. I was like, let me start to find my people. Like I like to get my hair done, but like I'm not a glam girl, right? So I'm
There's
like,
a
where are my
difference.
people? And I found my people in yoga and meditation, and I loved it. And I was like, ooh, I'm gonna do this. I took 500 hours of yoga training, right? I did all this stuff, and then I'm like, so I like yoga. I don't know if I want to teach it.
It's different, right?
Yeah, it's different teaching it than it is loving it.
Right.
So I'm a mom of one, only one, which is why I'm here today, like we talked about. She's 8, and I love being a mom. So on social media, I pretty much just talk about being a mom and talk about being an entrepreneur and, just existing in this world as authentically as we possibly can.
That if I was going to finish your sentence, that is what I would have said in an authentic way. I feel like that is a very common struggle that people are in right now. It's like, especially, I don't know how old you are, and I'm not going to say how old I am, but especially for people who we were in like a weird spot with social media. It's like we were kind of grown. We didn't grow up, or I wasn't underage with social media per se.
Very true.
So we've kind of grown as people online in front of other people. And a lot of us are like burnt out with that shit. We are like, look, what can I do that does not rely on Instagram, that does not rely on me having to keep people up to date and having to deal with the commentary and all of the things and be under the microscope. And I think it can definitely be times 10 if you add reality TV on top of that. Because stumbling across you on Instagram is one thing.
Yep.
Stumbling across you on Bravo
Yes.
is something totally different.
Yep.
I want to go back to the ATL shawty though, real quick, before we go back to the reality TV. Why did you never leave Atlanta? Did you never have a desire, or did an opportunity come up and you're like, no, I have no reason?
I might be crazy, but why would I leave Atlanta? I mean, Atlanta to me has everything. I can travel. Of course, I travel. I'll leave the country. I'll leave the state, for a week at a time or whatever. But I feel like Atlanta has everything. I mean, we have like the film industry. We have music. We have arts. We have everything. And I will say when it comes to arts and things like that, of course, New York may do it better. Like, LA may do, movies better, whatever it is. But we have a little bit of everything here. So I feel like I have my whole world here. Like, I really, truly believe like Atlanta is Wakanda. Like, I feel like I see why people are moving here. I would like them to not.
Slow down a little bit.
The traffic and we need to breathe, people. And the prices, rent is crazy right now. However, I understand why people are moving here, because you can go to a strip club, you can go to an art show, and you can go get some soul food, but then you can also have like a Michelin rated restaurant. Atlanta just to me has everything. Like, why would I leave?
And then all of that has all black everything all
All
up
black
and through
everything.
there.
I hate traveling sometimes. I'm like,
Where are the black people? Listen, it's much, y'all can say whatever you want to say about Atlanta, and we talk cash shit about Atlanta sometimes. But
We will.
baby,
Yeah.
go somewhere else. Find it somewhere else. Find
Find
a
it.
city that does it better with a black experience. It does not exist.
No.
And I've been to a lot of cities.
Yes.
And there are black people all around the world. But when it comes to ownership, when it comes to just the quality, the variety, the diversity
Yes.
of blackness in Atlanta, from the vegans in the West End
Yes,
to,
I
you know,
love
the
it.
bougie girls, you know, at Phipps, it's
Yeah.
literally, we got everything, baby. We got it
Everything.
all. So, okay, it was kind of a trick question because why leave Atlanta?
Because why?
Why?
Like, I'm a little delusional. It's okay.
So, what about the pressure though? Because this is one thing that I'm dealing with when it comes to Instagram, social media, I'll say, but particularly Instagram, and like people recognizing the recognition
Yeah.
that is cool and cute, but also can be uncomfortable. How do you deal with that with reality TV? Being born and bred in Atlanta, meaning the people who know you knew you,
Yeah.
like tried and true. How does that impact you?
It's funny. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Literally, someone will come up to me and they're like, how do I know you? And honestly, because I've been here my whole life, because I'm Jose Williams' granddaughter, which is another piece of Atlanta that we get to have all the history that we have here. You know, being Jose Williams' granddaughter, being on TV, doing all these things and having always been here, I don't know where you know me from. Honestly, like when I pause and let you try to figure out, because people be like, Maze. I'm like, no, I didn't go to Maze. They'll be like, you know, they're trying to figure it out. I give them the pause because I honestly don't, and I don't want to be like, oh, Real Housewives. Because like, no, girl, it was actually from West
High
End Mall.
school, right.
Right, it was actually high school. Actually, I saw you at the vegan restaurant in West End Mall. It could have been that, right? So I literally let people pause. Anywhere around the world where I am, if someone recognizes me, I let them pause and I let them try to figure it out. Now, if it goes too long, I'll be like, maybe it was Housewives. It's like, oh, yeah. But a lot of the times it could be you were with your aunt at Jose Feed the Hungry, or you were with, you know, so-and-so. It could be a lot of things. At this point, it's not uncomfortable. I think I've been in it so long. You think about it, Portia's been on Housewives, what, 10 years now? I think 9 or 10 years.
Doesn't
I
seem
mean,
like
because
that long.
she was on there before Bailey was born, and Bailey's 8. So it's got to be 9 or 10 years now. So, and then, of course, like I said, growing up being Jose Williams' granddaughter, having Feed the Hungry, going to dinners, and people knowing us, and, you know, every 10 o'clock on every Thursday, we're there for the press conference, just already kind of being in the spotlight as a family. We kind of morphed into it a little bit easier than I think maybe other people would have, but it's only uncomfortable online. And that's the crazy thing. That, you know, they talk about Twitter fingers? It's crazy. People will say the rudest things to me online. And mind you, I try to do no harm. I am a yoga teacher. Like, I try to tell my truth. I try to be honest, and I try to do no harm. And people still come and do harm to me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I did nothing to y'all. But they'll come to my page and, you know, talk about me, say I'm the ugly sister, say whatever, I ain't got no booty, whatever they want to say. These are just the narratives that have been running. But they'll come and say those things, but in person, everyone is so sweet. Everyone's so nice.
And it might be that same person who just came to say hey to
feel
you
like it
down
is.
at Seven Under.
It
You
is.
know,
It is.
Like,
I
girl,
really feel
sis,
like it
why do you have to do that? I was just talking to my husband about this last night. It's like, I don't think that these behaviors or these things just came out of nowhere, but the blog culture and then social media has just exposed and highlighted and put a spotlight on the worst behavior.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and we just pull apart every little detail
Yep.
versus before, when we weren't all up in each other's business and didn't have so much access, we could not
No.
be so crazy in these comments.
No, and honestly, I will say, I was arguing with somebody on Instagram today, actually, in the comments. Okay, so somebody was saying that with the algorithm, they will actually show you comments that you would normally agree with, right? I feel like my Instagram does the opposite. It shows me comments I'm not going to agree with, because as soon as I go to a page and I have, of course, I form my own fully formed thought after I watch whatever the post is. If it's one of yours and I'm watching you, you watch the video, you tell me how you feel, I have a fully formed thought by the time you're done talking. I go to the comments, and the comments are saying something completely opposite of what I'm saying. Now I'm either questioning myself or I'm arguing with people in your comments, right? So it's like, I'm not sure what the algorithm does, but I do
doing
think
something
it
intentional.
definitely does it intentional. And for me, on my page, they definitely show me comments that disagree with the way I would normally feel. And I'm like, okay, now I got to argue with everybody on Instagram in the comments.
The intentionality behind it all, I think, is what is kind of like scary.
Terrifying.
Because it's like, we are literally, genuinely in our feelings. I am pissed off.
Yeah.
And girl, it's a bot. You know, like, and you are arguing with nothing,
Yes,
with no one.
nothing.
You know, like you
Yes.
on your phone. This person that told me you didn't ruined your day, and you're arguing with somebody that does not even exist. That
Yes.
is the extent
Yeah.
that we're operating now.
Yes.
How does this impact your mental health? Because we laugh about it, and you can laugh about those things now, but there are some things that people will say that are like, I'm triggered, you know, like,
Triggered, and I kind of
some
believe
things
it
you
a
could
little
just
bit.
laugh off, maybe
Yes.
curse them out a little bit, but some things still hit you a little different.
Absolutely.
How do you deal with that part of it?
Absolutely. Therapy, honestly. I've been in therapy since my dad died when I was 10. So I started therapy on and off then. My mom put me in therapy as a child. And then when I was 18, I had a complete mental breakdown at Spelman, took a leave of absence, and started therapy. I have not left therapy since. I've pretty much consistently been in therapy since I was 18. I'm 36. So a lot of therapy, a lot of self-awareness. It doesn't help the sting. You're always going to get the sting, but learning yoga, breath work, and things like that have helped me because I'm more aware of my body. So I understand, like I told my cousin the other day, she was like, I got so mad and I cussed him out. I'm like, why'd you cuss him out? She's like, I don't know what I mean to. And I'm like, okay, when these moments happen, I really think you need to stop and recognize what's happening in your body. Are you breathing faster? Is your heart beating faster? What's going on? Are your eyes starting to get a little blurry, right? Like, what is going on in your body? If you can tap in and do a quick body scan when you start to feel heightened, you'll feel yourself getting hotter. Or maybe you're getting colder. Maybe your fingers are tingling. Whatever's going on, and you can recognize that you're about to enter a spin. And I think if we can stop ourselves before we enter the spin, then we can probably respond instead of react. Or not respond at all, or say nothing, because like you said, it could be a bot. But I think it's more so about us having these everyday practices of meditation and yoga and body scans and therapy if you can get it, all those things, because it's really about being aware of what's going inside of you when you are triggered, because that's where you gain the control. Outside of that, you're letting them control you. So for me, I mean, I guess therapy led me to all these other modalities that taught me, which is why I ended up teaching them, because I feel like everyone should know them and could benefit from them. But on a daily basis, I think if I had to give advice to anyone, the advice would be to, when you feel yourself getting angry, because we know what angry feels like. When you feel yourself getting angry, like, notice what's changing. If your heart is beating fast, slow your heart rate down. Relax, like, calm down. How do you do that? Breath work. Okay, let's breathe in. Let's have a longer out breath. We're putting ourselves back into our parasympathetic nervous system. We want to be in rest and digest, not fight or flight all the time, which Black women live in fight or flight all the time. We're always trying to be strong. We're always living in survival mode. We never get to thrive. We're just trying to survive. So my thing is, breathe. The first step is breathe. I don't expect you to know bunny breath or all the things I teach my little kids in yoga. I don't expect you to know every single, ujjayi breath, whatever it is. I don't expect you to know that. Just breathe in for 4, out for 6. A longer out breath will allow you to think clearly. And I don't know that everyone does that, but my cousin is so lucky to have me, because when she has a spin, she calls me and I'm like, did you breathe? And she's like, oh no, I forgot to breathe. So she actually called me yesterday and she was like, so he texted me again and I noticed that my heart was beating fast, and I did what you told me to do. I took 3 breaths, and I had the longer out breath, and she was like, and I did not curse him out. I did tell him about himself, but I didn't curse him out. I was like, hey, the man didn't get cussed out. Hey, baby steps. Yeah.
Those are seemingly such simple things, like knowing how to breathe, being aware of your body. When I first came into the awareness of my body, just hearing that phrase, that was even a foreign phrase for me. Like, be aware of your body. And I'm like, I'm just here. So many, the majority, I'm willing to say, the majority of Black women specifically are disconnected from our bodies because we are so in our heads, because we're worried about the next thing. We're worried about the other thing. We're worried about all of these titles, all of these tasks, this long-ass to-do list, all of these things that people need from us that I don't have time to worry about it if my heart is racing. I got to race to the next thing. Yeah. And so we don't usually pause until there's a problem. So I want to go to the nervous breakdown, because I think a lot of times it takes those literally knockdown, drag out, fetal position moments to teach us these principles, to get us on this right track, to, refocus us, or for God to really say, all right, girl, stop playing. Yep. Like, this is the moment. So what does that mean? Because when we hear nervous breakdown, my mind can go a lot of different places.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what it felt like. I honestly don't even know what it was. I can't even, there was so much going on. I went to Woodward, which was a predominantly white institution, and then I go to Spelman, all Black women, right? So I'd never been around that many Black women, other than my family, of course, but like never just that many Black women. And I was the spokesperson for Black people at Woodward, right? Like there weren't many, I mean, now Woodward is like 40% Black, but back then Woodward was like 10% minority when I got there. So I mean, if we were in a class about civil rights, I was the one telling everybody what was going on. I was the Black woman, right? There were only a few of us. So getting to Spelman and being a minority, or not even minority, but just being like, just one of the crowd, it really did mess with me. I was like, wait, like, who am I now, right? Like, I was this Black woman. I am the Black woman, and now I realize there's so many of us. Like, this is great. I'm so happy to be here. That's why I went there. But my goodness, I kind of lost myself. My self-identity was a little torn. And I was molested when I was younger. And so when I started therapy, after I think my first semester, I started to remember things that I had literally just stuffed back down. I mean, I literally didn't remember it until I was 18. It was actually crazy because it happened for years. And so that came up, just all this stuff. And my dad died at 10. It felt like my dad re-died. And this is all at 18 and 19. I'm trying to handle all this and stay in college. I have no idea why it happened or what triggered it, what got me there, but it was absolutely a nervous breakdown. And thank God I had Dean Baxter at Spelman. She saw me and she sent me to a counselor. I forget the counselor's name at Spelman. And she was like, they both came together. That we talked and we talked to my mom. They're like, we think you should just take a leave of absence, like take a break. Go figure things out for yourself and come back. And I actually ended up not going back. The other day I went back because I'm trying to go back to Spelman now. So Spelman, please let me in. Just reinstate me. But I broke down. I mean, if I tell you what it feels like, I would drive to class, fully able to do the schoolwork because, again, I had a great education growing up. So fully able to do the schoolwork. The work wasn't hard. I would drive to class because my second semester I started driving to class. I would drive and sit in the parking lot and cry for 4 hours. And a little bit of it was like, oh, well, I missed class yesterday. I don't want to be embarrassed to walk into class today. It was little things. So I can't tell my mom that. Girl, if you don't, I don't care if you didn't go to class yesterday and you're embarrassed about class today. Girl, bye. Right? And my mom is very understanding, but anybody would be like, what are you talking about? So I couldn't explain it to anybody. No one was there to help me. I just felt like everything I was feeling made no sense. I felt like my feelings were not being validated by anybody because I didn't know how to communicate them. It wasn't even my friends and family's fault that I couldn't even communicate them. I was like, I'm sad. Why? I don't know. I'm just sad. I couldn't explain anything. And, I just thank God for my therapist who came along and the counselor at Spelman, and they were able to obviously validate my feelings. And you would think, oh, don't validate her feelings, make her go to class. But in validating my feelings, it gave me a chance to work with them and get through them instead of trying to go over and under them. And eventually, I was able to thrive in life and start businesses and all these things. And now I feel like when I go back to college, it probably won't be hard at all because I don't have that mental strain. But that was my nervous breakdown. And it was a 2-year nervous breakdown. It was a lot. And of course, alcohol. I didn't drink in high school. So of course I got to college. It was like, what's alcohol? What's weed?
Let me find out.
There's weed. This is so cool. So of course I again, private school, sheltered, got into the real world, and the real world is Atlanta. So Atlanta's down the street from Spelman, right? We're down the street from Peter Street. So the real world was right outside. And it was a lot.
Identity is such a thing, whether it's going away to college, becoming a wife, becoming a mother, losing yourself, however you saw yourself, because it comes down to how you see yourself. Because from the outside looking in, people want to celebrate your blessings. They want to tell you should appreciate what you got. You should be, this is what you pray for. All of those things, which is true. But in the moment, how you feel about yourself, what you feel like you've lost, the way that you feel like you don't belong, the way that you are confused about your place, your worth, your value. What do I bring to the table if all these other Black girls is here bringing the same thing?
Exactly.
It's whatever season you're in when you go through it, and at whatever age or stage, I feel like we're all going to go through that moment. We might not classify it as a nervous breakdown. We might call it postpartum. We might call it whatever we call it. We go through these things, and if we don't talk about it, you feel like you're the crazy person when it happens to you.
I felt insane.
How, at this point, 18 years later, what does management look like? Because those feelings don't necessarily go away, but they present themselves in different places.
Right. Management is self-awareness. So I gained self-awareness through therapy and journaling. Journaling is a big part of how I cope because obviously I still have anxiety. I was diagnosed with anxiety. I still have ADHD. Was diagnosed with that. I still have those things. I don't take medication, but I really do find ways to thrive in life. And it's because, again, like I told my cousin, when I bump up against those moments, I know what they look like. I know what they feel like. And if I don't know what it is, I'm sad and I don't know why, I can at least give myself the space to be sad. I'm like, okay, this is okay, Lauren. Like I talk to myself as if I'm 18 again, or if I'm 10 again, watching my dad die.
With yourself.
I'm very gentle with myself, and I'm able to say, okay, Lauren, like this is not where you want to be. We have patience with ourselves, and honestly, it's been a journey. I mean, 18 years of therapy, and I'm just now getting to the point where I can really feel confident in what I'm saying and not doubt myself and not let other people's projections onto me, like you said, what other people think I should be doing or what I should be appreciative of, not let that affect me, and to move forward in an aligned way so that I can live an authentic life. Because if I'm living based on their standards for me, I'm not living authentically. I'm living based on what they think I should be doing or what they want me to do or what they see in me. And I appreciate them seeing greatness in me. I do. I'm like, I love it. I have a great community and a village around me. However, I've got to see it in me. And I've got to see it in me by taking action. So I think a lot of people get into these moments, like the nervous breakdown that I had, and I stopped. I mean, I literally stopped going to school. I stopped everything. I wish I would have continued moving forward. I wish I would have immediately gone to Georgia Perimeter and taken a course, right? It took me years to go back to school somewhere else, but gone to Georgia Perimeter and taken a course. Still taking steps in that direction show you who you are. If you stop learning who you are. There's a rest period. There's a time to take a rest. There's a time to breathe. There's time for Shavasana. There's time for all of that. And then you get up. And you have to get up because, like we teach in yoga, it's not the, staying in tree pose for 5 hours that, teaches you the lessons off the mat. It's the wobbling off of your tree pose and getting back up, right? It's like working that muscle of getting back up. And it's the same thing in life. Literally, I remember I was doing a yoga class. I laid down in Shavasana and I got up and I was boohoo crying. And I cried for 45 minutes. I'm like, I don't know why I'm crying. I just know I'm crying and that's okay. And I was crying and I'm like, you know what? I don't get back up. I let things take me down and keep me down. And I just let them lay me down on the ground and then I stayed there. I've got to keep getting back up. And I journaled about it, again, journaling. And then I can go back to that journal and be like, all right, Lauren, you got to remember, you have a tendency to let things keep you down. Get back up. And I can write it on my mirror. So now I know I know my triggers. I know the things that I need to get back up, and I know the things I need to work on, and they're different for every person, which is why I hate when people get on social media and they're like, everybody needs to do this. And I'm like, ugh. Like, everybody doesn't need to be in therapy, right? Sometimes you went to therapy too long.
Or you went to the wrong therapist.
Girl,
the wrong therapist can be worse than no therapist.
It can. They can. If they have their own agenda or their own bias.
Or they need therapy themselves.
They need their own therapy.
They're projecting. It's such a thing. You have to date. You have to date court your therapist until you get to one that feels good. Forget the credentials. Forget the Instagram followers. Please don't be getting no therapist based on the Instagram followers.
Don't do that.
But really going with someone, who feels good so that it can be a therapeutic process for you.
Yes. And I recently just switched therapists after 17 years with my therapist.
I was going to ask you, have you had the same therapist?
I've had the same. Now, I still go to him once a month, once every few months, because now we just have this relationship and he knows me so well. But yes, I went to the same therapist for that 17 years, and I recently just switched, I think 16 years, but I recently just switched to a woman. And I felt like I needed a Black woman. I mean, I'm a mom, I'm a single mom, and I'm dating. I'm, not in a relationship anymore, and I'm just like, I think that he's not understanding some of the things I'm saying. And he tried so hard to understand me. He really did. And he's given me so much wisdom over the years. But I just knew there was some pain points there. And so I found a woman. She's amazing. I love her. I'm obsessed with her. I want to suggest everybody to her, but I want to be able to get appointments.
That part.
I need to be able to get my little virtual appointments.
Don't do it, sis.
Right. So I won't say her name, but she's awesome, y'all. But yeah, I dated around. I dated 3 women before I got to this 4th one, and I love her, and I'm so happy now. And I feel like I'm moving forward rather than getting stuck in the past, going back to the past.
And that is a thing too. So that is what I have. The conclusion I came to before I started working with my current therapist / coach was really the difference between therapy and coaching. So historically, I've sat down with the therapist because that was the option that I knew was available.
Right.
Therapy, though, this is what I've learned, is specifically meant to target like the past. You're
Mhm.
working through what you've been through versus
Mhm.
coaching, which is how can I move forward?
Yes.
What is my plan forward? Using my past, how
Yes.
can I move forward? What's my plan of action? So now I
Yes.
work with the therapist who's also a life coach.
I love
So
that.
it's like the best of both worlds.
Yes.
But if you spend your time, you can literally go in circles. You can be living in a loop for a decade
Yep.
working with a bad therapist or
You
someone
can.
who just keeps you stuck.
Absolutely. And you can do that on your own for free.
That-
Trust me,
that part.
you can loop all day by yourself.
So for people who can't afford therapy, don't have access to therapy, aren't interested in therapy,
Mhm.
I love being able to share like practical in the moment. Cause girl, I can be Buddha on Instagram. I can have quotes for days.
Days.
But baby, when my mama make my head spin,
Okay.
who's gonna come out? You know, so
Right.
I need to know in the moment,
Yeah.
feel how is your breathing? And now that I have kids, these are things that I'm even, teaching my sons.
Yeah.
But journaling is one of the things that you've said several times.
Yeah.
What does that process look like for you? Can you share that? Like, we hear journaling, but how do you do it? Share that with the people and me specifically.
Absolutely. My journaling is not as structured as other people's. I'm a Pisces, so it's not a lot of structure in my life at all anyways. I'm like a free-floating butterfly. So the way I journal is sometimes if I have a heavy moment, of course, I'll go write in my journal. But I also try to have some sort of schedule to it. I want to be consistent with it because sometimes you don't know something's feeling heavy until you start writing and then you're like, you wrote a whole page about this one guy that didn't open the door for you and you're like, really, girl? Like, did that bother me that much? Oh my God, right? So I would say be consistent with it and you just write. It's very just writing. I mean, literally just write what you're feeling. Like, this bothered me today. This made me happy today. Don't focus on the negative. I would love to give some sort of amazing structure, but it's one of those things where you just start. Just start. Literally get a little brown notebook and literally say, okay, every Monday and Wednesday, I'm going to journal. Those are the 2 days where I have a free night. I'm going to journal. Some people like to journal in the morning. I'm a nighttime journal. I don't know why, but nighttime works for me. So just sit there and write. I mean, I think if you want to give yourself prompts, because my mom, whenever I tell her journal, she's like, but what do I do? She's Aquarian. She's like, girl. So if you were to give yourself prompts, I would say, what felt heavy today? What felt light today? What am I proud of? What made me proud today? I think those are the 3 emotions that probably will pull out what really stood out to you in that day. And those are the same questions they tell you to ask your child instead of, how was your day? Right? They tell you a little more specific. And again, we are treating ourselves as if we were 10, as if we were 18, taking ourselves back to those moments where we needed a hug, where we needed a journal, where we needed a therapist, whatever it was. So take yourself back to those days, follow some of those parenting advices on Instagram because they're everywhere, and literally go through and say, what made me feel heavy today? What made me feel light today? And what am I proudest of today? That will pull out enough. Trust me, you're going to have the next 3 pages to do whatever you want. But that will pull out what feels heavy or what is on your mind, because a lot of people can't meditate. And meditation, for me at least, in Vipassana, where I'm just allowing my thoughts to pass by, when I come out of Vipassana, my first thought is usually, wow, I thought a lot about that spaghetti I made last night. That was a lot. And I did the same thing with I did the same thing with my mushroom ceremony. When I did a psilocybin mushroom ceremony, I did the whole ceremony, came out, right, woke up the next morning. I'm like, okay, I wonder what I learned. I wonder what like deep, ancestral things I learned in my mushroom ceremony. The whole time in my mushroom ceremony, I was laying down on the couch next to a friend, who's now a friend, and the whole time I was like, Lauren, move your leg over. Like I kept feeling like I was going to disturb her journey. And I didn't want to disturb her journey because we all paid a lot of money to be here. I didn't want to disturb her journey. So I just remember like going like this. The whole thing, I was going like this. And I'm blindfolded. And I'm literally going like this. And so when I went to go process it a week later with my counselor, they were like, did you feel like you were in her way? And I'm like, yeah, I felt like I was like being too big. Like I felt like I almost saw my body getting bigger. And of course I'm hallucinating, but it really felt like my body was getting bigger. And I felt like I was in her way. I felt like I was disturbing her. And they were like, do you feel like that a lot? And I was like, I do feel like that a lot. And I do. I feel like I'm in the way. I was taught to be, a Southern belle. I was taught, my mom's from Orangeburg, South Carolina. We're very, country, and we're proper and we're polite. I was taught to be nice and smile and, not take up too much room and not be too loud. On the other hand, my mom is, powerful and ran a business for all those years after my dad died and did all these powerful things, but she does them in a very like quiet and nice way. And that works for her. For me, that made me get small, right? Like just seeing her be so quiet and nice. I was like, oh, I have to be small to be quiet and nice, right? I don't have to be small, quiet, or nice. I can be large, I can be loud, and I can be kind, right? I don't have to be nice. I can be kind though. And that's just something new I'm working with. I'm just now realizing how small of a life I allowed myself to live just because I didn't want to take up too much space. And at 36.
That's profound. It seems like so simple, but that is profound, and we cannot skip past this mushroom ceremony. Tell us all about it, please.
Yes.
What led you there, and what was it like?
I had a friend that was in he was actually doing he was doing a program where he was learning how to facilitate mushroom ceremonies. And he invited me to the program.
What is a mushroom ceremony? Because the people are like, girl, what is this?
What is that? So mushroom ceremony is psilocybin. And so it's the hallucinogenic mushrooms that that we all heard about when we were young. Magic mushrooms we heard about when we were young, right? And so people will, I guess, let me start with this. Duke University, I want to say UNC, UCLA I know is doing it. They're conducting these studies. They've got clearance to conduct these studies and human trials using psilocybin to treat, I want to say right now it is end-of-life anxiety. And there's another one, I think PTSD. I think PTSD and end-of-life anxiety. So patients that have cancer
terminal
and they're
illness.
Right, exactly, either terminal or maybe they're healed from it and they're still feeling like their life is going to end. So just that anxiety about end of life. And so they're actually clinically treating these people. So they're not giving them mushrooms and throwing them in the forest, right? They're giving them mushrooms, they're blindfolding them, they're making sure the dosage, the set, and the setting are standard across the board so they can get actual, scientific results. And I was like, that's amazing. I doubt that I would make it into one of these trials, and it's just not my life goal. How can I do this maybe on a more casual level, but with people who know what the science is behind it, right? So I found some people, they knew the science behind it, and a friend of mine was involved. And yeah, I went in, I paid my money. You have to pay money. There were 5 women. We laid down on a couch and we blindfolded ourselves. And we did our mushroom ceremony.
Did you eat them? What do you do? You
We ate
smoke
them. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, they give us a bowl, and we literally ate them.
What does it
and
taste like? I got so many questions.
Horrible.
Like what?
It was
Put a
horrible.
taste to it.
It's bitter and dry and bland at the same time. There's no taste. There's no taste. I mean, if you were to go outside and eat some grass, like literally it tastes like grass. What I would think grass. I've never eaten grass, but I would think it would taste like that, right? So yeah, I mean, it tastes horrible. We ate them, and then 15 minutes later, they were like, okay, blindfold yourself, lay down. And we laid down, and it was, I think, 4 hours of a ride. It's not a ride you can get off of. It is a ride that you are on. And I remember taking my blindfold out, trying to open my eyes, like, get off of the ride, get off of the ride. And you can't get off. I mean, eyes open, eyes closed. Time stops existing. So I remember I would see them standing up, and I would put my blindfold on, and I'd go like this, like open it back up, like almost suspiciously, and they would be right next to me, and I'd be like, how the heck did they get here? Time wasn't a factor at that point. So obviously I wasn't going like this. I probably waited 10 minutes and took it back off. But I didn't notice that. I tried to stand up to use the bathroom, the floor dropped beneath me. I was like, oh my gosh. I remember feeling like I was in 6 different dimensions.
Did you throw up?
Yes. I did.
Okay, because I've seen like duck flower, ayahuasca, all of the ceremonies that I've seen on social media, there's always vomit involved.
I hate
What
vomiting.
is that? Is that like
So
the
they say it's purging.
spiritual-
Yes. They say it's energetic purging. They say you're purging. So all the things that are no longer serving you that you need to get out, that you're purging. Obviously, when you talk to someone at Duke or UNC or UCLA, they're like, well, the mushrooms irritate your stomach. You can look up the science behind why mushrooms would make you, or why ayahuasca would make you throw up. It's not the trip, though. It is just physically the mushrooms and energetically purging. So, yeah. And I mean, it did change me. It changed me. That one lesson to me was powerful enough.
But your initial goal was anxiety. You wanted to is treat anxiety the correct
I just wanted to deal with it.
Manage
Yeah,
it. Manage your
Yes,
anxiety.
I wanted to manage it. I also have a really hard time sleeping alone. After my dad died, I slept with my mom until I graduated high school in the bed. in the room with the door locked. So it kind of was a sign that, like, it's not safe in the world without my dad here. And of course, she's just trying to protect me, but that is what it said to me. And sleeping alone is very hard. Even to this day, sleeping alone is very hard. But I will say that my boyfriend at the time left for 6 months right after my mushroom ceremony. He went to go work a job, and I stayed in our house with Bailey by myself for 6 months. I would have never been able to do that. No way. No way I could have done that before that. I would have been terrified. I would have thought somebody was going to come in and kill us. Like, I just always had those spinning thoughts. So I know it's affected me in more ways than just that one, but that is the easiest to make people understand. So that's a story I can, like, always tell. I did another one after that on abandonment. I just cried the whole time.
I love that you are so self-aware, but constantly seeking even more self-awareness. And not even self-awareness. It's one thing to be aware, but it's something else to be putting forth the effort and the action to actually make some changes and manage changes, because this is what I'm learning on my journey, is that it's not making a change. Make seems permanent. This is literally managing these changes, because it's day by day, moment by moment sometimes, depending on who I run into, what I see online, who calls my phone. It's literally moment by moment of me having to be aware, but then having to act on that awareness.
And messing up.
And giving yourself grace. I was not prepared for the reality that I was going to have to reparent myself as I'm trying to parent someone else. Being gentle with myself while I'm being gentle with my kids. Like the way that they are growing me up while I'm trying to grow them up. It's like, God, nobody tell me that this is what motherhood was like. So mothering a girl mom, right? I don't know about that life.
I know.
But based on your experience, when you talk about going to Woodward and any, what's the best, majority white school, I'll just say that because people might not be familiar with Woodward, but any majority white school, a lot of times our community thinks that sending our kids to these schools are giving them access and exposure to the best. And yes, it a lot of times is, but there's that like dark side that comes along with it, that losing your identity, no sense of self, that sometimes comes along with it that we don't really know or think about until we see the effects of it later.
Absolutely.
Knowing what you know now, having your Southern Belle mother who that works for her, so seeing what works for her, having your own experience, what do you think your philosophy or like parenting style or advice is going to be for your daughter?
Ooh, I'm already in it. She 8.
Right? We doing this thing.
We are in it. We're doing it. I take it day by day. Like you said, I take it day by day. In terms of my philosophy, I allow her to be who she is. My mom definitely allowed me to be who I am, and I think that is why I am the way I am. That's why I continue to seek and why I'm able to give myself so much grace. Identity-wise, she's going to have to figure that out. And I really do parent, not from afar, because I'm right there, but I really do allow her to tell me what she's feeling, and I let her feel it. I don't try to change her feelings. If she says, oh, Mommy, my friend told me today that she was going to tell everybody my hair is fake because I have braids, because Bailey's school is very diverse, so she's got all types of people in her school. And she was like, she said that she was going to tell everyone that my hair was fake and, whatever. And I'm like, okay, how do you feel about that? And she's like, it makes me sad. And I'm like, okay, does she have the same hair as you? And she's like, no, this friend doesn't. She has different hair. She has straight hair. I'm like, okay, all right. So, and then we just sit there and work through it. I try to let her come to her own conclusions. Of course, as a mother, I'm like, slap her. Tell her you're not her friend anymore.
Her hair ugly anyway.
Tell her hair ugly. Like, it's been so many times I actually have said that. And then I'm like, okay, Mommy's sorry. Mommy's sorry for reacting that way. She knows I'll react. Mommy's sorry for reacting that way. Let's talk through how you feel about it. And it is conscious parenting, but I'm also still a Black mother. I'm also still, I'm gonna, my baby is everything to me. And I know how this world can and will try to tear her down eventually. So I do also try to prepare her for those moments. So it's a yes and. I wish I could say like I had this like amazing philosophy and like write a course on it, but every day is different. Like this morning, she gave me a bracelet and it had Fearless on it. And I was like, oh, that's so cute. It reminds me of the Fearless Fund. Because, yesterday, I think did they shoot down their last appeal?
Like it got denied.
It was denied? Okay, yeah. So I was explaining Fearless Fund to her. And in explaining it, I realized I was getting a little too radical in my conversation, and I had to reel it back in. I was getting into critical race theory, and I had to reel it back in. So
why did you have to reel it back in?
she's 8. She has, mostly white, Indian, and Black
You
friends.
don't want her to go to school and be like, my mama said.
My mom said that your people, right? Like, it terrifies me to say it the wrong way. So what I do is if I find myself taking it too far, and I'm also Jose Williams' granddaughter, so I grew up in a civil rights family. My family we know all the history. They're gonna really run you down about it. And so we learned that even outside of the books, just through being around our grandfather or watching things or going to, events. And so with her, I remember it scaring me. I remember scaring me and going to my friend's house and being like, your people, right? Like, and just having that feeling, or being in history class at Woodward and us learning about slavery and feeling less than because my people used to be slaves. So it's like, I'm trying to teach her this pride without giving her any hate behind it. And I know that the hate would come naturally because I felt it for a while. I remember I got kicked. I got detention like 4 times at Woodward just for fighting with white men in history class. Literally, like, arguing because I didn't agree with what they were saying. And I don't even know if my argument was sound at all, but my feelings were in it, right? Because I'm the only Black girl in the class. I'm feeling some type of way. Or when my teacher made me read Tituba from Scarlet Letter? And she was like, Lauren, I think you should read the part of Tituba. You can give it an authentic feel. I was like, oh my God. So, she's going to have those experiences. I had more of them than most people have. She's going to have those experiences. And I want her to be able to figure out what to do in them instead of needing me. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm like, let's work with how this feels to you. What do you think you should do? How do you think you should handle it? And sometimes she'll say a response and I'm like, I don't really agree with how you're going to handle it. Mommy doesn't agree with that. I think you should move into maybe not being her friend. But if that is how you want to handle it, absolutely, let's talk about it in a few days. Let's see how that goes.
Let's see how it goes while we can see together versus me dictating how every decision is made and then sending you out into the world and saying, okay, now you give it a try. That is literally insanity. Like, if we peel back the layers to the way that some of us were raised, and I wasn't raised like in a sheltered way, but the girls whose parents tried to shelter them like, you are talking to no one, you are doing nothing, you are going nowhere. The moment that door opened up, baby, they were like busting out. They could not, they were outside. So being a facilitator with your child and not a dictator, I think is just so important. And to your point of, I'm figuring this thing out. We're going to talk about it. We're going to work through it. I'm going to apologize when I'm wrong. It is a revolutionary act, Black mother.
It is.
To apologize, especially to your Black daughter. Mm-hmm. It is a revolutionary act, and it is just not done enough. So I feel like the millennials, we're a wild out here, but we are getting this mom thing right.
We are.
We are being intentional about it.
And like you said, we didn't have the internet in middle school. I think I got it like end of high school. Mm-hmm. We got it a little bit later on, but once we did, we can now use it as a resource, right? It's not who we are. Whereas I think the generation behind us, social media is becoming who they are, and that's scary. We were already who we were once we had the resource.
And then we just put that online.
Exactly.
Y'all are like creating something online
that
has nothing to do with the real reality.
Exactly, right.
I do have a reality.
Bailey don't have a phone.
Bailey don't have a phone. Listen, I am here for it. I am here for it. I do have a reality TV question, though.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that people realize, living in Atlanta, I feel like gives you a different outlook and like insight to reality TV, because you can literally go anywhere and be on an episode. It just happens.
Yes.
I don't think people realize how fake reality TV is. Has there ever been a time where you saw yourself on TV saying something or doing something that your ass did not say or do? How does that part work?
So I haven't had the experience of seeing something. I haven't been on there much. We did 2 spinoffs. So I have 2 shows there where I was one of the main characters. Otherwise, I've been, B, C, D character to my sister. So I will say they don't focus on me as much. So I will say I haven't seen that. What I have seen is in a scene where I would normally respond to you like A and B. They're like, hey, we want to make sure you cover this. Now I've got to add that in, right? Make sure you cover this subject. Normally, I wouldn't add that subject into this conversation. This is a very sensitive conversation. This is a conversation that, I'm trying to help you or you're trying to help me. I wouldn't add this little tidbit in. Once I add that tidbit in, my authenticity has left. So I definitely have seen where my authenticity leaves my body in the middle of a scene. And then when I watch it back, I'm like, I didn't mean to say that like that. I really didn't. I didn't mean to do that. But again, in a normal conversation, you get to say what you want to say. You don't have somebody saying, hey, don't forget
You
that.
better mention.
Right. And so once I mentioned that, now I'm in my feelings because I mentioned that, and that honestly made me mad. I was trying to have a reckoning with you. I was trying to olive branch, but now that just made me re-mad, and now I'm on the defensive. And now I look like I care more than I do, or I look like I don't care more than I actually do care. So what I've seen is my authenticity changing in the moment, sometimes in the middle of a scene, and then also sometimes, of course, when it's played back and then things are cut out. I'm like, I didn't really say that way, or I said, hey, can we talk for a second before walking up and be like, girl, right? So,
But they showed the walk up.
Exactly.
So is it because the agreement says that you have to say what they say? Because that's always my thing. It's like, well, why did you say that? Like, I know they came and gave you the beat before y'all hit. I know they told you, well, this is what we're supposed to be talking about. But do you have to do it?
So no, you don't have to do it. No. And again, I have been lucky enough to be a DC character, so I don't have to say anything because it's not my job. It's not my only job. I have a job, right? But when it is your job, I do think people feel more, more of a duty to say what they feel like. And no one's ever going to tell you what to say. It's definitely not that. It's not like, here are your lines, you need to say this. It's definitely not like that. But there is a little bit of, like, I was in an interview one day and they're like, so don't you feel, they'll ask you 3 questions. So, do you feel like this carpet is red? Is that red to you? Okay. All right. Do you feel like this carpet is round? Yes, I feel like it's round. Okay. Do you feel like it's on the floor? Yes. Okay. Well, would you say that that in front of you every time you film there's a round red carpet? You're like, well, not every time. They're like, but you would say this time, right? You're like, yeah. You're like, okay, go. Right. And you're like, well, what do I think? And you're confused. Now you're like, wait, what do I think? So again, they're just very good at, continuing a story. But I will say they don't create the story. They start with what you give them. And I'm a huge believer in they start with what you give them. I really am. I really don't think reality TV is as fake as people make it. I do think it is situational. And of course, you have producers being involved in it. But you give them something and they're going to go with it. And they can see through some things. These producers are smart. I mean, that's what they're there for. They spend a lot of time in your home. If they see that you're weird about your left closet door, what is in that closet? Right? Figuratively and physically, what is in that closet? Let's see. Let's see if we can figure it out. And they'll poke around and try to figure things out. And once they figure it out, now they're finding ways to call it out. Right? So it's a process. I mean, I really think I could probably be one at this point because I've seen a lot of the behind the scenes more than me being on camera. But I mean, I promise, it's really not to me as fake. And maybe other shows are, but the show I've been on,
this is reality.
It's been reality. I mean, again, you have somebody, telling you to talk about things that you normally wouldn't talk about or talk about them in a way you wouldn't normally talk about. Like I was leading a meditation one time. They're like, we need to make sure to cover, the issues that everyone's having with each other. And I'm like, I wouldn't cover that in a meditation. Like, if I'm doing a meditation, I'm trying to reduce the issues people have with each other, not bring them up. Like, well, bring them up to bring them out. Yeah, that's a therapist's job. That's not what I do. I just facilitate the meditation, right? Like, I'll be a therapist in about 10 years, but, like, right now, I'm not. So, of course, I had to go beyond my boundaries and do what I need to do for the show, for my job, because at that point, it was my job. But, it's kind of real. They go with what you give them. If you don't give them something, they don't just bring it out of thin air. Now, somebody else might have given it to them. Now, Sally over here might have said that you so and so and so, and that's why they're bringing up so and so and so. But they're going off of what you give them. They really are.
So speaking of going off of what you give them, your sister's making a return, right? Right? That means you're making a return.
Yes.
Maybe. Some sort of. We might be catching you.
Like DC.
How has her recent marriage affected you? Because I feel like I saw a post that you like, you know what, I wasn't going to say nothing.
I wasn't.
But what y'all not going to do?
I know, I wasn't.
Like, at a certain point, it's like, okay, now I got to say something.
She's my sister.
Stop
my
playing
only
with
sister.
us. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. How did it affect me? I mean, her marriage, I will say, the beginning of it. I mean, from the very beginning, we did a whole reality show on it. That's when we did our spinoff. And we filmed season 1, and it was during the beginning of the marriage. I don't think they were married yet. Not yet. I think it was before the actual. I think they were engaged. And then, of course, came the wedding and all that stuff. I mean, I've had to protect her a lot. I've had to go into protection mode. I've had to defend her a lot. And I know more than what other people know. So when I'm defending them, I'm trying not to tell all her business, but I'm also like, you just don't know everything. You don't understand. And it actually, dealing with her, the beginning of her marriage, her engagement, and even the end of her marriage has made me so much more empathetic to when I see posts about people. I don't really believe it anymore. I can't believe, I don't take anything at face value because there's so much behind the scenes that people don't understand. And yeah, I mean, it stressed me out. I think the whole family been stressed out for about a year. It's been stressful, right? Because we have to hear other people's opinions on social media. We have to hear other people's opinions out in the world. I will say people don't come up and say mean things, but they will come up and be like, girl, that ex-husband of your sister. And they want to talk about it. It's like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm here with my daughter trying to chill. Like, that is a stressful
We're having
point.
breakfast. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
that's something that's hurtful to my sister. I don't want to think about it right now. Thanks, nice to meet you, right? But yeah, no, I mean, I've had to do a lot of defending. And I stand on my defense of her. I will not defend things that I don't agree with. So you'll never find me
So
just
how
like,
is that a tricky, because I'm the friend that it's like publicly,
yeah, right.
but privately.
Exactly.
Why you got me out here looking crazy? You know?
Absolutely. Right. And that's me as a sister. If I'm like, I don't agree with that, but even publicly, I still wouldn't say anything. Anything I've ever said on the internet or anything I've ever said in defense of my sister, I meant it. Like, I'm not going to defend her. I'm not going to go against my own morals and values to defend her. I really mean it when I'm defending her. I'm like, y'all don't know the whole story. You do not know everything.
Do you think we're going to find out?
I don't know. I feel like she's in a place where she may not want to talk about it a lot on camera. I don't know. I'm not with her filming, so I don't know what she's. I mean, they're filming now, so I don't know what she's talking about on camera and willing to
I just
go
feel like
through with them.
the way Andy be out here working these scenes, baby, he gonna get something.
He'll probably get it. I don't know if he'll get. I don't know if they get those raw moments. I know my sister. I know they're able to get the surface. This is how I'm feeling. This is what I should say, right? Like, she's good, right? She's good. She's the smartest person I know. That woman is. She's so quick-witted. I'm like, Porsha, how'd you even come up with that so quick? Like, her brain just works faster than most people's. It's actually amazing sometimes, which is how I think she trips herself. Like, when she'll say things, be like, oh, she's dumb. Like, no, she's just, her brain is working faster than her mouth. I'm telling you, that girl is so smart. But what I'll say is, like, you know, they see that part of her. I think it's when I get on camera with her, or we're off camera, obviously, that you get the more raw version of her. And that raw version of her, if everyone could see that, they would understand a lot more how she makes mistakes or how they don't agree with all of her decisions. And I don't think they would still necessarily 100% with her, 100% agree with her decisions, but they would understand it more. They would have more empathy for it. Right, but that is a lot to expose on national TV, not knowing how people are going to take it, how they're going to judge you. So I also don't fault her for not going that deep every single scene.
Not leaving yourself open as much.
Yeah.
Because they're going to dig.
Yeah, they're going to dig. Oh, yeah.
Has it brought any turmoil into your relationship? Because we see what it does to marriages or even just romantic relationships. Has the reality TV brought any drama into your real relationship?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we've had some squabbles on camera that we didn't expect and then didn't talk for a few days afterwards.
Was it because of what you said? Like, they told one to mention this and bring this up?
Yeah, absolutely. Because in a normal conversation, but yes and no, we're also sisters. We argue off camera too. We've had most of our biggest arguments weren't even on camera, right? So yes and no. Yes, they'll tell you to bring up something and she's like, why is she bringing this up, right? She's looking at me like, okay, so, and I was like trying to give her the eye like they told me to. And then we end up in an argument, right? So yes, a little bit of it is because we have to talk about subjects we normally wouldn't talk about in front of people. You know, there's certain things black people don't talk about in front of white people. There's certain things we don't talk about in front of national TV, right? And if I bring it up, she's looking at me like, really? Right? I'm like, sorry. So yes, it has affected our relationship off camera. After our spinoff, we had a little tiff, right? And people noticed. They were like, "You're not in Porsha's pictures anymore. Why weren't you in Porsha's house for Mother's Day? Why weren't you?" Like, people started noticing, and we didn't hate each other, but we just were like, we need some space. After an entire reality show about us, you just need a little space. We need a little breather. And she will never stop being my best friend. She's my sister, and people are like, "You just want to be your sister." And I'm like, I've wanted to be my sister from 1042 on February 19th, 1988. What are you talking about? Of course, she's my big sister. Of course, I do my hair like her. I do my makeup like her. I look like her, right? Like, I was
That's
in high
not
school.
a dig, duh.
No, I've been stealing her outfits since high school. What do you mean? Like, I've been trying to be her since, high school. I turned out to be different in so many ways. Like, we are very different, but we're also a lot alike. We also have the same triggers. We also, like, we'll talk and be like, girl, does this affect you too? And I'm like, yes. Like, we are a lot alike. We're very different. And I understand her. I see her. And I think people don't see her, so I'm never going to stop defending her. And, of course, when people say things about her, I don't always comment. But when it gets to a point where I'm like, okay, now that's not true at all. Like, all right, now you're frustrating me. Don't say that about her. I get protective. I can't help it.
Such a gift. Such a gift to have someone to the point of, like, truly ride until the wheels fall off.
Yeah. And I know she does the same for me. Like, even though she gets on my nerves and we argue and we don't always agree. Like if we don't talk for a couple of days because we had a little tip, I'm like, want to go to the gym? She's like, be there at 12. And then we're over it. Like, this is my sister. This is my ride or die. They say your parents leave you early in life. Your siblings are there for your entire life. She's a little bit older than me, so she's going to leave before me. But, for most of my life, she will be there. She was there in the beginning, and she'll always be there. So I'm always going to do my best to try to understand her. And I do have a lot more empathy for anybody on reality TV, anybody on a podcast. Because I even understand without having a producer on a podcast, you can say something and people take it out of context. They take what they want to take. So even if it wasn't produced, it can still be edited and just cut down, just chopped and screwed and cut down, and they can put a whole post up about it. So I just have a lot of empathy for people saying things. And I'm sure people would judge me for the things I say now that I'm living a bigger life and speaking out more. I know that it will come, and I'm terrified because I don't like a lot of criticism, and I try to just stay behind the scenes. But I realized that was me living small. So I'm trying to live bigger, and I'm sure bigger will come with more scrutiny. But as long as I do my best to be as authentic as possible, if you scrutinize my authentic feelings, whatever. Whatever. I just don't want you scrutinizing something I didn't really mean to say. I said in the heat of a moment. I said because I was supposed to say, right, whatever it was. I want you to scrutinize me for who I actually am, because I can stand on that.
My truth.
Yeah, I can stand on that. You'd be mad.
Well, listen, I'm about to have you said you don't really like the scrutiny on people, but I got to tell you to tell the people where they can find you. So they can follow you. Be nice, though. Listen, don't be all up in her comments. Don't come over here with that, okay? Look in this camera right here and tell them where they can find you. And if you have anything that they can support, let them know that too.
Okay, yes. Hello. Yes, please don't come scrutinize me too much. I am Lauren Williams, and you can find me on Instagram at LowDWill. I'm on TikTok at LowDWill. And yeah, just follow me on my social medias, and I'll lead you to everywhere I am, whether that's kids yoga, meditation, mindset changing, mindfulness, breathing, anything you need, I've got you. Oh, and some parenting suggestions once I figure it out. I got you. Let me figure it out first, but
that part. It is a journey. And it has truly been beautiful to watch you on your journey, continue to watch you figure this thing out. None of us have it figured out, but your willingness to be transparent and honest as you are on your journey, it is commendable. So thank you for being here. Follow my girl. We will catch her on a screen near you coming soon. Y'all, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Girls Stop Playing. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you next week. Peace. So if you enjoyed that episode, I'm willing to bet you are absolutely going to get your entire life when you log on to everybodylied.com. Y'all, I just launched my brand new blog, which is for women like me who are stepping into the newness of life, okay? Your girl got engaged, got pregnant, got married, and became a mom all in less than a year, and life came at me fast. As life was life, and I realized that a lot of the things that I had been led to believe were a lie. Survey says that was a lie. And so I am sharing all of my lessons learned and what I have discovered to be the truth, along with some resources on my new blog, everybodylied.com. Come on over if you are a woman who is experiencing the newness of life. I'll see you there.